Well, despite the 9-point opening game loss to the Boston Celtics, James Harden had it sizzling from the field. How about 35 points on 9 of 14 from the field, 5 of 9 from the three-point line, also chipped in 8 rebounds, had the audacity to go get you 7 assists as well. If you did not watch the game, you would probably say, man, that is a successful game one for James Harden, who has clearly lost some weight, clearly looks a couple pounds down in the Philadelphia 76ers, even though they lost. But if you watch the game, you would maybe know differently. I'm here to tell you differently. I got some bad news for Philadelphia 76er faithful out there, and I know y'all a passionate group of people. Y'all not winning anything. It's happening again. It's absolutely happening again. I watched that Sixers game, and I said, man, no matter how committed James Harden is physically, maybe even mentally, there is just only one way for him to be the most productive version of himself. What does Charles Barkley say? Dribble, 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 dribble. The late, great Kobe Bryant once said, you will not win with the style of basketball that James Harden was playing in Houston. We did not see this style as much in Brooklyn because of various injuries and the fact that they had this dude named Kevin Durant. But it is happening again, ladies and gentlemen, in Philadelphia. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. The same guy that turned Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time, into a 2-guard, is now turning Joel Embiid to a semi-post player that gets to rock every now and then. But other than that, is a guy that's just going to have to spot up on the perimeter and wait for the ball just like Chris Paul did. He's turned him into a 7-foot guard. Man, you cannot win with the style that James Harden plays. And I have been trying to figure out a way to describe this to fans for years now, and I finally got the perfect explanation on why it is going to be so difficult to win with the style of play that James Harden has. It's almost like practicing for a test, but finding out you studied the wrong subject. James Harden in big games and playoff games, which are obviously all big games, James Harden tenses up, which means he doesn't play the same way he does in a typical regular season game. When he tenses up and doesn't want the ball, essentially what you're doing in big games, playoff games, is now trying to, on the fly, train your team to play a new style of basketball that they have not played the entire year. So it's pointless for James Harden to dribble the basketball and shoot the rock or maybe pass late in shot clocks, because it's not going to be the style of play that you play in the playoffs, because James ain't going to be on the ball like that. When teams lock in defensively and make a game plan that caters to James Harden, which usually ain't in the regular season, maybe a few big games a year, but definitely in the playoffs, when a coaching staff does that, Harden is going to struggle. We've seen it countless times. I'd argue this Philadelphia 76ers team was more equipped to win in the playoffs with Ben Simmons than with James Harden. You're probably going to win a lot of regular season games against the Orlando Magic, the Charlotte Hornets. See, my Lakers can't win those games. The Philadelphia 76ers can, just because of how great Harden is at pounding the rock. He is one of the greatest ever at the ISO game from the perimeter. But the real teams, the big games, you're not winning those games when teams focus in on James Harden defensively night in, night out. You're not winning those games, and Harden don't want the ball in those games. So now you're trying to teach your team a new style of play on the fly. To me, the best version of this Philadelphia 76ers team is when Harden is committed to not getting his shot, not trying to lollygag a defender to sleep, but actually making a real effort to not just getting Joel Embiid the ball in the post every now and then, but feeding the big fella consistently and also setting up Tyrese Maxey. He is the better scorer option of the two between Harden and himself right now. I know Harden had a good game one, but he ain't going to shoot the rock like that more times than not. You are not getting a over 40% three-point shooter, over 50% three-point shooter from the bearded one more times than not. That's not what he usually does. When he comes back to earth with some of those numbers shooting the rock, You got a team that's going to win a lot of regular season games, but the big games, you can't win with that style of play still. He turned one Hall of Famer into a two guard. He about to turn Joel Embiid to one as well.